Hello, you are listening to the Nosebleed College Football Podcast. This is Kale, and today I will be talking about why the 2018 College Football Bowl season was possibly the worst bowl season we've had in many years. The first and biggest reason I say this is the matchups this year were lopsided. And if you don't believe me, of the 40 bowl games this year, 40 bowl games, 42.5% of them, which is about 17 or so, were decided by 17 points or more. Let that sink in a little bit. Around half of the bowl games were blowouts. The average over the last 3 seasons is 39.3%. So a 3% increase. Well, a 3% difference from the average. I shouldn't say increase. The most notable of these blowouts being in the Cotton Bowl, the playoff, where it's supposed to be the 4 best teams, and you don't see those blowouts. But we did. Clemson defeated Notre Dame by 27, beating them 30-3. Notre Dame only scored 3 in their playoff game. 3 points, I might add, is more points than the entire Big Ten Conference has scored in the last 3 years of the playoff. Ohio State got shut out by Clemson 2 years ago, 31-0. And speaking of the playoff, in the Orange Bowl, which was a game that really didn't live up to expectations, everyone expected this shootout or fireworks show, and which is really entertaining to watch. But I've got to give it to Alabama. They successfully manhandled Oklahoma and completely shut that whole conversation down very quickly. Within the first quarter, in fact, when they went up 28-0. I kind of knew watching that game at that point that it was probably over, considering Oklahoma's defense probably wouldn't come back from a 28-point deficit. I hate to sound like that, but I mean, after 13 games, you are who you are. You know what to expect. But another reason that this bowl season was not that great, and this is really only for Sooner fans, but Texas had a big program-defining win against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, defeating them 28-21. This is the kind of game that you sell to recruits. And we don't want Texas to get recruits. That is bad. But anyway, going back to this Cotton Bowl, and Notre Dame in particular, there's a problem with Notre Dame. They need to join a conference. The playoff committee has been criticized, falsely I believe, for including Notre Dame in the playoff. Because I think in order to get in the playoff, you cannot lose more than once, maybe twice if you prove to be a legitimate elite team. But you can't lose more than once in regular situations. And Notre Dame never lost, I should say. I don't know why I said that. Lost. Notre Dame never lost. But the problem with that is they played a cupcake schedule. The hardest team, or the best team on their schedule was Syracuse. They went undefeated. I'll give you that. That's hard to do. Beat Michigan. That's pretty great. Ohio State beat them better. Did Notre Dame earn a spot? Yes. Did they really belong? No. The playoff committee is criticized for the inclusion of Notre Dame, when really Notre Dame should be criticized for playing a weak schedule and not joining a conference like everyone else. About 126 teams in the FBS are in a conference. Why can't Notre Dame? If they're truly good, then they should be able to compete for a conference championship every year, like Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma. That's how you earn playoff spots. That's how you earn respect. But Notre Dame joining if Notre Dame played in a conference this year, they likely would have lost 1 game, maybe 2 or 3, possibly even 4, depending on what conference they were in. And this would have allowed a better, more qualified team, a la Ohio State or Georgia, to make the playoff. Notre Dame, this Notre Dame team was probably the worst team I say that, second to Michigan State in 2015 to make the playoff. Speaking of the playoff, a lot of people, myself included, in the past have argued for an 8-team playoff. And that argument really took a hit after the New Year's Six, with all Georgia, Central Florida, and Michigan losing their games. That would have been 3 of the 8 that would have been in. And ultimately, there were only 2 real championship contenders this year when you look at it, and that is Alabama and Clemson. They are ahead of the pack by far, and I think it's right that they're playing for one. And this year, it almost would have been better just to have a single game a la the BCS. But the playoff is better. But anyway, to go back and touch on that Orange Bowl loss Oklahoma suffered, Oklahoma is 0-5 since 2000 in national championship games and playoff appearances. 0-5. They have never won one. Not since 2000 anyway. That is a problem, and I would expect to see another video in the next week or 2 explaining why that's a problem. So look forward to that. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support would be much appreciated. This is the Nosebleeds, signing off. Boomer Sooner.